of Match Play. My name is Matt Hagee, and I'll be your host today. And alongside me is Cody Jeanette. Cody, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm ready to get this show on the road and play with some matches.
Haha, me too. Well, so we'll just dive right into it. As always, we'll start out with our Cal U Vulcans. We'll start out with the men's basketball team this past week. They got a big win at the Convocation Center last Wednesday against Gannon, and then nearly pulled another stunning road upset in Slippery Rock on Saturday. And Cody, even though they lost that game on Saturday, you got to like how they played and the momentum going forward.
I did, yeah, definitely. To get two upset wins in a row would have really made a statement about this team. That game against Gannon with the 3-point differential, that's how close it was. The final score was within 3 points. But the game against Slippery Rock, it really could have gone either way. You know, there was a lot that happened in that game, which I'm sure people could debate about whether the momentum should have gone towards Slippery Rock or towards California. It's a toss-up both ways. And going into overtime, it just spelled out all kinds of drama for the Vulcans up at Slippery Rock.
Well, and I thought you saw it at the overtime session there when Slippery Rock were just getting ready to wear down the Vulcans. They forced Alonzo Murphy out of the game. Alonzo Murphy was the only guy that could compete with that size that Slippery Rock had across the boards. I thought they did an excellent job with Maurice Lewis-Briggs, who is averaging 20. The last two games he had 20 points a game. They limited him to 10 points and fouled him out with 3 minutes left to go in regulation. But I thought it was a great game for the Vulcans regardless. They should keep their heads up high. But the difference in that game was free throws. And if you look back at it, Cal only shot 13 for 22 from the free throw stripe, and Slippery Rock went 21 for 26 with 4 for 5 in overtime.
Yeah, it was a big game for the Vulcans. Just unfortunately came down with the loss on that one. But on the other side of the court, the women's basketball team had a very offensively commanding win against Slippery Rock. But on the other side of the spectrum, they had that heartbreaking loss to Gannon. So they got the best of both worlds this past week on the court.
They really did. In that Gannon game, they took a lead with Emma Mahadi three-pointer. But, I mean, Gannon is just one of those tough teams. I mean, they didn't go well. They lost to them. But then how do you respond? You have to go on the road. And that's a decent Slippery Rock team they played. And, you know, they're last in the conference, but they play well at home. They almost beat Gannon at home. But I think you start with Emma Mahadi, 21 points, 15 rebounds, absolutely outstanding. We were doing the broadcast, it seemed like every other word was how her play was. So kudos to her. And then I'd like this women's team, they stay in third place. So.
And going back on that Emma Mahadi tangent, I mean, it seemed like when the momentum could have easily shifted to Slippery Rock, here comes Emma Mahadi down the court, and then all of a sudden she busts out a three from the corner of the court. You know, it's like anything you can do, I can do better kind of thing. So Emma Mahadi, along with Mickey Glenn, Caitlin Fratz, all the players who were able to offensively contribute. You know, it was a landslide win for the Vulcans. It was a big win and a big offensive statement for the powerhouse of that team.
And a key stat here, 40 bench points. You see players like CeCe Dixon getting the double digits. So great win for the Cal Vulcans, as we will get ready to look at to next week with both teams. We got Mercyhurst coming in tomorrow to the Convocation Center. The last time out, the women defeated Mercyhurst 71-66, but the men, they fell up short, but that was earlier in the season, and then both teams have to travel to the Macomb Fieldhouse on Saturday. So Cody, we'll start with Mercyhurst. The women got the win, but the men, that was a different team back then, and I think you got to think that they'll play a much better game tomorrow.
Yeah, and you know what else? California is also a different team. You got to make that argument too. After starting out with one of the shakiest season starts that they've had in over a decade, you know, here they are. They battled back from the very bottom. They're at the middle now. Mind you, they're at the middle, and these are the games where it really matters. Against Mercyhurst, Edinboro, teams that are above you or competing with you for those middle spots. The middle 4 standings, I think, were within 1 or 2 games of each other. You know, so it's a very small margin for error there. And if you can get the competitive edge over your opponent, you're going to climb up there.
And the men, I mean, I think what you saw out of the men this past week, I think they can run the table. They got some tough games coming up. They got IUP coming in for revenge next week, the Convocation Center, but they control their own destiny. You know, they got Seton Hill, UPJ. They lost to both of them. Mercyhurst, you lost to them. And then you got a Edinboro team that's in last place right now. So they have a great shot at winning out. And yes, that includes IUP in there because they proved they can beat IUP. Yes, IUP is going to come in different team. They'll be fired up. They want revenge. But, you know, I really like their chances.
Yeah, there are definitely big chances that this Vulcans team has on the basketball court coming up. So we'll see how the whole PSAC West pans out. And now we're going to be shifting from the hardwood to the grass, where the one of the stars of the Cal U football team, Dewey McDonald, was given All-American honors this past week. It was a big award for him, but he's had a lot of contributions on the field.
He really has, and this was his only one and only year with the Vulcans. He's playing most of his time at Fairmont State in West Virginia. But just to show how much impact he had on this team, he had 89 tackles, which was not just ranked as much as a team, but also ranked in the PSAC as well for a defensive back. He had 3 interceptions, all of them returned for touchdowns. And he finished third all-time in D2 return yards on interceptions with over 400. So I just remember that IUP game where they were down 14-0, nowhere to go. IUP's driving for another score, and then here comes Dewey McDonald, interception, 90 yards. It put Cal back in the game, even though they lost that game, but it fired the team up. He just makes an impact. He has that Rontez Miles impact where he can make a play on any point of the game.
Yes, and going back on that interception tangent, he has the 3 pick sixes, and that's also second on the entire team in interceptions. So just returning them for all three for touchdowns is just a bonus. But Dewey McDonald has always had one of the more dominant defensive presences on the field. So congratulations to Dewey McDonald on being named All-American.
And he's a great person off the field as well. And now our final segment here, we'll take a look at our fan topic. This week we did not get a fan topic. If you'd like to share a fan topic, go on our Facebook page at CUTV or at our Twitter page at CUTV_PA. And Cody, since we don't have one, we'll talk about the commercials of the Super Bowl. Cody, what was your favorite commercial?
Well, I had 2. They were tied. The first one was the Mutts from Audi, with the compromising whole thing. Mm-hmm. And my second was the Cowboy Kid from Doritos. Doritos always has fantastic Super Bowl commercials, but it was really nice to see those 2 because a lot of them seem to be movie trailers or things showing off computer animation. So it was really nice to see those 2 going for a humorous touch with the others not really going for it that much.
I agree, and overall, I thought this was one of the worst year's commercials I've ever seen. But my favorite was the Tim Tebow commercial for T-Mobile, where he was going around in public like he was a quarterback. That was very funny. I like commercials like that where you can get fun like that. Also, Budweiser really pulling your heartstrings there. I thought it was adorable. The puppy thing was one of the most adorable things I've ever seen, especially with the heroes. And also, the one thing I was disappointed was the Arnold Bud Light commercial, where I get there, they whole piece it all together, but that Arnold I was really looking forward to that, and they really let me down. Just saying. When we come back for our next topic of match play, we're going to head to the Steel City. We're going to talk about the Pens, we'll talk a little Pirates, and a little Pitt hoops as well. Stay tuned.
You are watching CUTV, California University Television.